Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Shraddha is the key, and cultivating Shraddha by practicing Shraddha. Practicing Shraddha is again a topic that has been taken up in the Bhagavad Gita at length, and in the 4th chapter, in the 34th verse, we have a sentence, we have a mantra. What is that? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Then the next line, upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. Tadvidhi. What is tat? Brahma. This is Brahman as oneself. Vidhi. Please know that. And there is a 3-pronged formula for understanding, assimilating the knowledge of Brahman as oneself. Pranipata. Pranipata means pata from pat, to fall. Yeah. To fall on the ground reverentially. And so that is pranipata namaskara. Because the thing is that the Namaskara is the physicalization. The prostration is the physicalization of the Shraddha. Why physicalize the Shraddha? Why not have the Shraddha in the heart and then no need to physicalize it? Well, it is physicalized for the same reason that you actually take the trouble to phone somebody and wish them on their birthday. You don't say, I remember your birthday, it's in my heart. And you take the time to wish them. You take the time to, if you buy a present, you take the time to wrap it. If you get them a present, you take them the time to wrap it, knowing full well as soon as you give it, they are going to unwrap it. But here, unlike the present, unlike wishing somebody happy birthday, what happens is that you are the one that is benefited. The person who is doing the pranipata is the one benefited. How? Well, the Madhya Pradesh, body-wise speaking, the middle portion becomes slim and trim due to namaskaras. This is what is called immediate result. Drishtaphala of frequent prostrations is that you get you get a free yoga asana right there. Fantastic. It is like doing utthanasana. Very nice. Then over time, what happens is that the physical bending and the attitudinal bending, blend together, which is again wonderful. There is something attitudinal, and then when it is physicalized, it has a lot of effect. It becomes a prayer. It is not a surrender to the individual called the teacher, guru, etc. It's the surrender to that principle of how the pramana works, that without a teacher, no pramana can work. That is what one pays homage to. And the one to whom this homage is paid, for them to be a fitting recipient of this homage, they should not require this homage. Then that becomes a correct altar of surrender. And that is, it's again another paradox in Vedanta. The person you are doing namaskara to does not require the namaskara. So therefore it benefits you. And so this is pranipata. Pariprashna. Pariprashna means asking questions that one, to erase those areas of vagueness, error, all these things, areas of obfuscation. This is what we have been doing in the satsangs. So, pranipata, pariprashna, and then seva. Seva is purta karma. Because of this seva, one grows. One grows and one grows to be a fitting candidate for this knowledge. Because you look at something bigger than yourself, you're serving something bigger than yourself. So then, pariprashnena sevaya, these are the three ways to know this. And then what is it said? Upadeksyanti te jnanam. The teachers will definitely teach you if you are endowed with these attributes, these qualities, these attitudes. Jnaninaha, these jnanis, and tattvadarshinaha, those who know the tattva, the truth of the I, they will definitely teach you this. So this is why Shraddha is very important. Everywhere, in all the Upanishads, this is highlighted. The opening mantra of the Kaivalya Upanishad, the second mantra. First mantra is sage Ashvalagana going to Prajapati for knowledge, going to Brahmaji for knowledge. And then, and then the answer comes from the teacher, Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yogad Avaihi. Avaihi, please know this. How to know this knowledge? Shraddha. First word is Shraddha. Through Shraddha, through Bhakti, reverence towards Bhagavan, towards the Shastra, towards the Guru. Dhyana. Dhyana means meditation, contemplation, which is what this text is highlighting. Dhyana yogat, through a combination of all that, avaihi, please understand, please know. And so, this is what it is. So, here, 16th verse, Laghu-Vakya-Vrttya yatha shakti. Yatha shakti, shaktim anatikramya. Not crossing, whatever one's capabilities are, meaning according to one's capacity to imbibe the knowledge. A capacity, mind you, which is always growing. It's not a static capacity, it keeps on growing. And why does it grow? Because it is nurtured through the Shraddha, it is cultivated, it is watered by Bhakti. It is, the miracle grow is Shraddha. It is fertilized by Shraddha, watered by Bhakti, and then, and the sunlight of knowledge shines on this. So therefore, there is the sunlight of the mumukshuta, and all this shines on this. And so therefore, this is something which is something, it's growing. So that yatha shakti is not to be taken as a static thing here. So, it is according to one's capacity in the moment. In the moment you understand this much, you contemplate on this much. Tomorrow you understand a little more. Next class, I don't know what I was thinking. Now I know a little more, little more, little more. Self-knowledge is not an event that happens to the self. No. Why? Because if it is an event, it will have a start date and an end date. Like even this retreat. Of course, the end date changed, but but that just buttresses my point, doesn't it? Yeah. So it has a start date, it has an end date, and so an event is that. If enlightenment, I don't even use that word except now to just make this a little clearer. If self-knowledge was an event that happened to the self, we are in trouble. Because that means the self is finite. It is dependent on a start date and an end date. Self-knowledge, if it's an event, it will come to an end. Second problem. Please see this very, very clearly. And I don't know why, but there are some gurus who celebrate Enlightenment Day somehow. And I'm not talking of Buddha. That was different. That is something else. That we can, that involves another discussion for which we don't, which will take us away from the text. But lot of, living teachers, etc., they celebrate, or even if they don't celebrate, their disciples and their devotees celebrate what is called Enlightenment Day. This is the problem with calling something Enlightenment Day. And so therefore, enlightenment or self-knowledge is not an event that takes place, doesn't happen to the self. It should be understood more as a series of aha moments, more as an ever-growing clarity that blesses each time that clarity grows with joy, with patience, with delight, with accommodation, with compassion. That is what is self-knowledge. It's not a one-time thing, because if it's a one-time thing, then we are in trouble. It will become finite. The self will also become finite. It's just not even either logically possible or desirable. Why? Because, I spent some time, a long time ago, and, I don't know if people recall this, talking about how cognition of objects takes place. Do you remember that? Say yes, even if you don't. So, we talked about a two-part cognition. You will remember as I revise this. First part is where, quote-unquote, the light of consciousness goes out through the apertures. Yes, remember this? See, I knew you knew. Yeah. So the self-knowledge goes out through the apertures, eyes, ears, etc., etc. And then what does it do? It wraps around the object of knowledge which needs to be known, and then brings back information. This time it's not the surprise kutti little pot. It is this teaching pot itself. It will readjust any other ishta pot that has arisen in your head. As soon as the word pot is what is to be cognized is heard. Correct? And then that readjustment is called Phala-Vyapti, technical word. And then the perception itself, is called Vritti-Vyapti. Vritti-Vyapti, the act of perception. Phala-Vyapti, part 2 of the perception, the recognition of what was seen with the adjusted here in the head. Now, instead of the pot, let us replace pot with Brahmajnanam, Brahman, not even Brahmajnanam. Let's replace pot with Brahman. What is happening? How is the cognition taking place? Through the vritti alone. Everything needs vritti. That's why this is Vakya-Vritti, Laghu-Vakya-Vrtti, Mahavakya-Vritti. The Mahavakya is also in the form of a cognition. Aham Brahmasmi. Oh, something happens. You are that which is the cause of this universe. You are that without which nothing can exist. You are the source of all sentiency, and you are self-lit. You are self-evident to yourself, and as a result, everything becomes evident to you. You are the only source of self-evident in all the universes, known and unknown. So when I say this, something quietens down, something happens. There is a connection to what is being said. There is an identification with what is being said. And then an expression that comes out is like a aha moment. So the unfoldment of the Mahavakya causes a vritti called Brahmakara Vritti. A vritti that is non-separate from Brahman, naturally. Like if I want to know pot, what is generated is Patakara Vritti. Oh, is that a sentence? Yes. So, Ghatakara Vritti, Ghata pot. Ghatakara Vritti, and then what, and anything else, bottle Akara Vritti, another Ghatakara Vritti, mic Akara Vritti, book Akara Vritti, glasses Akara Vritti, all that is just generated when this is understood, when this is explained, when this is talked about. Ghatakara Vritti. But then if it is Brahman, then what happens? Naturally, Brahmakara Vritti is born. How is it born? Through the pramana handled by a teacher who knows how to handle pramana. Who has been taught. That's all it is, Shrotriya. And so, then that Brahmakara Vritti surrounds the buddhi, envelops the buddhi, correct? And then there is a aha moment, there is joy, there is a recognition, there is a cognition that I am not this body, mind, sense complex. The body is a plus to the I, which is Brahman, which is Atma. The mind is a plus, the senses are a plus. All these are incidental, as though attributes superimposed, as it were, upon this Brahman, which is free of all attributes, all names, all forms. This cognition has taken place. So, listen carefully. In the cognition of the pot and in the cognition of Brahman, we have one thing which is common. What is that? That Tadakara Vritti takes place. Tadakara Vritti means whatever that object is. Brahma Vritti or pot Vritti, thought Vritti, anything. So that is what we have in common. In the cognition of Brahman, also we need a Vritti. A Vritti which by definition is going to self-destruct because it is Kshanika, but it does its job. It points to you and then it dies away. That is its beauty. We don't need for the vritti to hang on because you are self-evident, you understand it. So, the first part of the cognition of object and subject means you, Brahman, you as Brahman, is the same. Vritti-Vyapti takes place. The buddhi is flooded with the vritti, because of which you are able to recognize thought, pot, or yourself. Brahman, yourself as Brahman. Now, with regard to the objects, we need a second part 2 operation. And what is that operation? Phalavyapti. I know this pot as an object. Iti. That is what is called Phalavyapti, part 2 of this cognition. Do we need this for knowing Brahman? No. We don't need it. Why? Because the job is done. Brahman is not an object that is cognized, and Brahman is not something that in relation to this you have to do that or something like that. No. And Brahman is not, you don't have to say, oh, I thought of a small little Brahman, but actually it's a big Brahman, so I have to readjust. Nothing. It's not an object. The vritti is like a flower that comes from the Shastra, handled by the teacher, thrown at the heart of the seeker, of the disciples. And then what happens? The wall in the flower in the form of the vritti is so powerful, so blessed, so holy, is that it melts the wall in the heart. Ishvara drishti, Ishvara darshanam takes place right there, right then, without needing any other part of the operation. The wall of suspicion, the wall of fear, the wall of past hurts, the wall of all kinds of difficulties are just melted. And why did I use the example of flower? Because like the vritti, it is soft. Like the vritti, it self-destructs. It wilts. As soon as you put it on Bhagavan, it starts to wilt. So here, the words Aham Brahmasmi are what? Is a worship of that self which is free of the body, mind, sense complex. So, handled by the Guru, it travels like the flower. The flower that is put in Archana for Bhagavan. It travels like that to your heart and then melts all the resistance. It also self-destructs, but it doesn't need to continue to be alive and continue to do this. Why? Because it has been understood, assimilated, it has indicated you, which really needs no pointing at all. It has indicated you not as this body, mind, sense complex, but as separate from everything and as the truth of everything, free of all pain and sorrow. So this is what it's meant in the second line. Vakya-Vrttya yatha shakti jnatva hi abhyasyatam sada. Yatha shakti, wherever one is, how much ever one's heart was able to open, it's okay. It is a process that will continue. It's not a stopping thing. There is no going back. There is no going back at all. That is why in the Bhagavad Gita it is said, what is it said? Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. There is no returning, there is no turning, nothing. It's just you. All that is there is you. So as you continue in this journey, the Acharya here blesses you and says, blesses the seeker and says, Hi abhyasyatam sada. May you continue to practice. It is not an injunction. Abhyasyatam. It's also a blessing. It's an ashirvada. May you continue to see this. May you continue to go on this journey. Very fitting, because even if you're headed home, let this continue to percolate in the mind. Let the value for this knowledge never be lost. Let you have this fully as we have enjoyed it and we are giving it to you, and may you continue to do this. Receive this. Oh, so I should just receive this? Yes. What should I do after that? Tat chintanam tat kathanam Anyonyam tat prabodhanam. Pumsam Advaita Vasana. This Advaita Vasana, the Vasana for oneness, non-duality, is there inside. And so that's why it's fragrant, because it's a deja vu. Another reason the sugar syrup is fragrant and sweet is because it symbolizes the sweetness and the fragrance of Brahma Vidya. So all the tired, jaded, faded and fried jivas, fried pun intended, jivas are inside this sugar syrup, and the container of the sugar syrup is a retreat, let us say. And then what? First in the beginning there is no absorption. Everyone is bobbing up and down restlessly. Takes time to settle down. That's not the time to eat this gulab jamun. You have to let it soak for a few hours and then you taste it. It has become one with the syrup, the fragrance, the Shastra, the Mahavakya. The fragrance is the Mahavakya. It has become one with that. There is no part of it that is not sweet. And so, if you would like to be this Gulab Jamun like person, then in addition to understanding this, one soaks into the knowledge how? By sharing it with others. By contemplating upon it always. Tat chintanam. Replace the thoughts with this, the contemplation of the Mahavakya. Recall the wonderful moments of this retreat repeatedly. Be in it. The soaking is called Tat Chintanam, and then after that, what do we have? Tat Kathanam. Talk about it to the loved ones at home. Even if they don't want to hear, talk about it. Oh, but then I will not have any friends. Doesn't matter. Even if you can catch hold of one person and talk about it a little bit, it is good. It is not helping them. Who is it helping? You. It's helping you. So therefore, talk about it. Tat kathanam, sharing, talking about it. And then meditating upon this vidya, upon this knowledge, talking about it. This is also almost verbatim lifted from Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter. Tat chintanam, tat kathanam, anyonyam tat prabodhanam. Broadcasting this knowledge with one another. Oh, but then nobody is there to listen. Make new friends. Simple. Meet on Zoom. Share with one another. Lots of, possibilities are there. Make new friends. That is why satsang is important. One shares and then one understands many things as a result of this participation. Tat chintanam, tat kathanam, anyonyam tat. Anyonyam means mutually sharing. Tat prabodhanam, broadcasting this knowledge. Etat ekaparatvam cha. And then this kind of single-mindedness, ekaparatvam, this kind of a committed single-mindedness is known by the sages, known by the wise one, Buddhaha, wise one. The wise one, Viduhu, know this as what? Brahmabhyasam. Badly translated in many texts as practice of Brahman. Brahman doesn't need any practice. Oh, but practice makes perfect. Hello, Brahman is that which is already perfect. That which is already perfect is called Brahman. You don't have to practice it, it happens to be you. But seeing the truth of yourself repeatedly, all the time, without any interruptions, that is what is being talked about. And it is the progress in letting go of vagueness, in letting go of doubt, in letting go of error is accelerated when there is this satsang to grow with, to be with. That's why we have Gita home study groups and so many things. And that is something which is something to share, and being singular, that is called the singular focus on the reality of oneself as oneself is called Brahmabhyasam. What is Brahmabhyasam? A continuous contemplation upon Brahman. And uninterrupted contemplation. And this also, verse number 17 is a blessing verse as well. As we are getting ready to conclude and embark on our journeys, both the physical journey back to the hometowns and our homes, and the spiritual journey also. This is a blessing. May you have gained enough clarity as a result of the study of this text that you are capable of sharing with others. It's a very nice blessing. The kind of comfort you received while spending the week here, may someone else also in your life benefit from that peace, benefit from that shanti. This is the Ashirvachanam of the Acharya, as this text concludes. Because if you suddenly have start doubts, start having doubts, how can I share this? Because by the time I leave the lecture hall, I don't remember what was said myself, but how to share it. You share. Sharing is, it's with this blessing, equipped with the Acharya's blessing. And who knows when this was written, who knows when this was composed. So the blessing of that Acharya comes with all the gurus of the parampara, whoever at any time has taught this text. This blessing has continued to flow. Definitely you will be equipped. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langhayate girim, yat kripatamaham vande paramananda madhavam. That is what it is. The grace of Bhagavan, the force of the intentions, the sankalpa made by the Guru. Because the sankalpa made by the Guru for you to have the knowledge is the sankalpa made by the Guru for you to have this knowledge is not an ordinary sankalpa, because it's a sankalpa that's free of any agenda. That's why it is called Satya Sankalpa. It will definitely come true. May you all be stellar contemplators and teachers of this knowledge. That is the blessing. Teachers and sharers of this knowledge. Very beautiful blessing. And so the miracles are possible. Even if you say, how can I teach? How can I share? I don't even know the first thing. I don't know A for Atma, B for Brahman, C for Chit. I don't know. Well, by whose grace, by which Lord's grace, the lame one can scale a mountain top, and the one that is unable to speak, the mute, can speak. Not only speak, compose things. Compose so many poetry and other music, etc. I worship, I invoke the grace of that Lord, because of which all this is possible. Okay, when will this happen? That is what is addressed by the last verse. Dehatmadhi, dehatmadhivad brahmatma, dhida degrita krita, yada tada ayam riyadam, mukto saunatra samshayah, dehatmadhivad brahmatma, dhidardhye krita krityata, yada tadayam niyadam, mukto saunatra samshayah. The author, Acharya, Shankaracharya, is, you can see that there is a little bit, is playful and comes back with a interesting repartee for the unasked question, but question that one has. And what is that question? When will this happen? When will I have the capacity to share? When will I have the capacity to be a contemplative person? Well, that will happen when Dehatmadhivat Brahmatmahi. Just as convinced as you are that the Dehatma, the Deha is Atma. Just as convinced that one is that the body is alone I. And this conviction is a conviction that one comes with to this knowledge. I am as good as the body. As strong as that conviction is, because the ways in which we shield body from any hurt and we go to seek comfort for the body. We don't want any kind of discomfort for the body. We take care of the body. Why? Because there is a strong identification as I. Who did this? I did this. You touch the body. And then so many times, and then there is that kind of identification with the body all the time. And so, that is what is talked about here, is that kind of an identification with the body, when it is replaced, when that identification is replaced, not the body as I, but Brahman as I, all this will become very, very, very clear. And you will reap the fruits of the knowledge. Small stage is to thinking the body as I, body includes mind, senses, etc. Instead of thinking of the body, mind, sense complex as I understand that this Brahman is myself. Now, with the same certainty that the body identification, the mind identification, the senses identification manifest and keep on repeatedly manifesting. How do they manifest? Oh, this is how they manifest. They just sort of I am the mind. I am the phone. This is what happens. Most of the phones, that's why it's called iPhone, okay? Yeah. Most of the phones have a similar ring. And then what? When the phone rings, you interrupt that. So you are not your phone, you are not ringing like the phone, and you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the senses. You are not what you own, you are not what you have, you are not what you are going to have. You are not your spouse, thank God, you are not your children. This is something for every Indian parent to really assimilate. The children are not an extension of you. Indian parents know very well how to parent. Their problem is they don't know when to stop parenting. Yeah. That is the problem. So I have a cutoff age. Please stop parenting at 50. Oh, when I am 50? No. When the child is 50. I was talking one time in Washington, D.C., and this 85-year-old came and said, "My son doesn't listen to me. Can you please talk to him? He's in the audience. I want to bring him, to make him listen to me." I said, "Let him be in the audience, but I just am curious, how old is he?" 60. Yeah. Son is 60. She is 85. And very sad that the son doesn't listen. So here is where, when this letting go happens, then there is space for Brahman to shine. Remember the inner TV show called, what is it called? hoarding, hoarders, whatever it was. There's so much hoarding here. Phone is me, child is me, house is me, body is of course me, mind is nothing but me, senses are me, me, all this is me. Poor Brahman, no space for it to shine. Brahman, as it were, is quietly sitting under the debris of anatma, waiting to be swept, this debris which is waiting to be swept up. Some internal housekeeping is needed in the form of shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam. And this debris has to be, cleared. You don't have to put Brahman there. Brahman is already there. Ishvara is there. And the same person whose antahkarana, the inner infrastructure of the buddhi, mind, etc., is crowded with all the not me's, the not I's, crowding up the I, is very sad and angry towards Bhagavan. Why are you not giving darshan? Darshan kab doge? When will I have this darshan? I told you, from now on just do a cough drop naivedyam to Bhagavan. Because Bhagavan is hoarse. Bhagavan is saying, I'm right here. You are not seeing because I'm buried in this debris, in the fallout of identification with anatma, in that avalanche of all kinds of nonsensical identification, mistaken identifications. I am buried. And if Bhagavan were not completely self-sufficient, self-evident and completely purna, Bhagavan would be saying, help, asking to be rescued. But Bhagavan doesn't ask to be rescued because Bhagavan simply is, and that is you. So when the strength of this identification with anatma loosens its hold, and condition number 1 in the first line, and when I as Brahman, that understanding gains a foothold in the spaces of the heart. When that starts to happen, one is definitely on the path of progress emotionally, spiritually. And when the dehatma dhihi, the buddhi that broadcasts the wrong understanding, I am as good as the body, mind, sense complex and all other nonsensical things connected to me, is replaced by what is called Brahma is alone. This Brahman alone is Atma. That kind of buddhi with the same dardhya, dridhasya bhavam, dardhyam. Dridha means certainty, conviction. Dardhya, the status of having that conviction. So that conviction, first one is so convinced, this is me, this is me, this is not me, this is me. And when that conviction that I'm as good as the body, as good as the mind, as good as the senses, is replaced with I am nothing but this consciousness, which is Bhagavan, I'm non-separate from Bhagavan, I am the whole. When that is completely replaced, then what happens? Kritakrityata takes place. That is the jnana phalam. That is the prasada of atmajnanam. Because if supposing one were to ask, what is it that I am getting out of this atmajnana? What will happen? Kritakrityata. Whatever there is to do, kritya is already kritam. Whatever there is to accomplish has been accomplished already. Because this is the purpose of the human birth. The purpose of the human birth is to accomplish the removal of self-ignorance and soak in the knowledge like a gulab jamun. That is what is the purpose of the human birth. in the conversation, dialogue between Gargi, a sage, and another sage, Yajnavalkya. Gargi's job was to have a select assembly of scholars of Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, and to that extent she was asking questions of prospective people. Yajnavalkya, in Yajnavalkya she met her match. So she asks the question, Kaha Kripanaha? Who is the stingiest person in the whole universe? And of course, one would think, looking at this question, one would think, oh, somebody who doesn't give, somebody who is not, who is miserly. And in Hindi, we have an expression, kanjoos. Kanjoos means doesn't give at all. After that, there is also one more expression. What is that? Makhi choos is the person who sucks the fly. What do you mean sucks the fly? How disgusting. So this conjuice fellow is having tea, okay? And then a fly falls into the tea. Not for the faint of heart is this metaphor. If you are squeamish, close the ears. So then most people would just say, I think I don't want the tea. This fellow not only drinks the tea, but he squeezes the fly out to make sure that all the drops are there, that not a single drop of tea is wasted, and then drinks the tea. Makhi choos means squeeze a fly, okay? Yeah. This is the fellow. So one would think that would be the answer to this question, Kaha Kripanaha? Who is the miserliest person of all? The answer is surprising. Yajnavalkya says, Bho Gargi, O revered Gargi, Atmanam aviditva, Yaha asmat lokat praiti, Saha Kripanaha. That person is seen as the most parsimonious person, the most conjuice person. Why? Most miserly person, the one who departs from this world without knowing the self, without knowing the I as Brahman, of course. What is the connection between not knowing Brahman and then being miserly? Because the person is hoarding the brain cells and not using them. That is why the person is miserly. Very beautiful. The brain cells are not given to excel in the stock market. The brain cells are not given to do this, that or the other. The brain cells, the unique human buddhi to be able to which is the only thing in the whole universe which is able to grasp the truth of this self. That is why this buddhi has been given. And if you don't make use of it, that means one has done a disservice to oneself and others. Why? Why have I done a disservice to others? Because the others had to put up with you and deal with you throughout your life. And a person without self-knowledge is not easy to put up with. So many issues, core issues, this issues, that issues, so many preferences, so many prejudices, raga, dvesha, this, that, misunderstandings, unconscious, everything. So, the human birth is only meant, this avatara that one has taken is only and only meant for the sake of internalizing and assimilating and pursuing this knowledge in a committed way. And when you accomplish this knowledge, then what happens? There is kritakrityata. Kritakrityata means you have accomplished the goal of life. Oh, but I have a different goal of life. Yeah, that's why you are going goal. Yeah. Goal means in circles. Yeah. Goal ghoom rahe ho. That's what. That's why. Because you don't know what the goal is. That's why you're going round and round. Goal. Priorities should be understood. And the sadhana, sadhya, sambandha, the connection between the means and the end must be assimilated. That this moksha, this Brahman that I am seeking, being non-separate from myself, this is not something to manufacture. This is not a product. This is not going to get me anything by doing. This is a matter for knowing, and therefore, from a mumukshu, a general seeker of freedom, I customize myself to be a jignasu, a seeker of knowledge. That itself is a quantum leap. You see the difference. Mumukshu is a general seeker of freedom. For that person, mall is freedom. Don't forget the spelling of mall. What is it? Yeah, very good. M-A-U-L. Where you go to get mauled of your sanity and pocketbook at once. Okay, at the same time. So, this is, for such people, movie is freedom, mall is freedom, going somewhere and coming back is the series of freedoms. Mumukshu, everyone is. Jignasu, a few alone are blessed to be. Only a few people have the ability to make that quantum leap after they understand that this moksha is not a product, it is the limitless I. So therefore, a committed pursuit of this knowledge, without which one is fit to be committed. That's really what it is. So, kritakrityata means that contentment that everything that needs to be accomplished has been done as a result of this knowledge is the fruit of Atma-jnanam. And he don't have to worry about that at all. It will continue. It will continue to bless. And the world will continue. Innovations will continue. Oh, but the jnani is simply sitting. Who said? Who said the jnani is simply sitting? Anybody who knew Pujya Swamiji would not say that. Would not say that at all. That saint was with everybody all the time, doing so many projects, doing so many things, did not even spend 1 second on himself. He was so busy, but it was because he had self-knowledge that he could be so busy, because there was no agenda. In fact, when you have self-knowledge, whatever duties you have to do will be done even better. Will be done even in a wonderful way, even more than what you're doing, because there is space. You're not taking everything personally. There is space, there is enthusiasm, because one is not dejected and depressed all the time. And there are no core issues bothering. So there is freedom to do even more. So don't worry about, and that's a nice excuse. Okay, somebody has to do this, so therefore you please go get Atma-jnanam, I will sit and do this. No. Therefore, Karma Yoga means doing without focusing on the results of knowledge and taking as prasada. That is why we practice. We practice karma phalatyaga, not karma tyaga. Karma phalatyaga leads one to grow into this knowledge, and the karma tyaga happens as, by itself. Karma tyaga means the kind of letting go which the sannyasis do. But here, the letting go is not literal. It is that identification which is gone. The identification, I am a doer, is falsified, and therefore, whatever there is to be done is also falsified. Nothing to gain, nothing to lose. All that is there is the glory of Bhagavan, which is you. Wherever you see is Bhagavan. Whatever you greet is Bhagavan. That which you consider favorable, of course, is Bhagavan. That which you think is unfavorable is double dose of Bhagavan. Difficulties are Bhagavan. So if you have more difficulties in your life, you have more Bhagavan in your life. That is how to look at it. This is the attitude until the knowledge takes place. And so with these words we conclude the text, and to show that this is always a loop and it is always the beginning, we will chant the first verse. This will also make it a full circle, and it will remind us where we started, and it will give us a sense of accomplishment, how much we have, how far we have come. Together. Sthulo mam samayo dehaha Sukshmasyaadvasanamayaha Jnana karmendriyai sardham Dhipranau tacchariragau. And in conclusion, I will wish everybody a very, very, very happy 2022. 2020 and 2021, we don't know where they went, and the virus gobbled it all up. And I pray for a very safe 2022. May you have prosperity, may you have knowledge, may you have vairagya, may you grow to appreciate this knowledge, may this knowledge become you, pun intended, and may everybody enjoy long life, good health, and may everyone have safe travels. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.